Reading for you chapter 1 of The Dog Runner today. Let's share the screen and get started. The Dog Runner by Bren MacDibble. To all the kids who are not brave but do brave things anyway. Chapter 1. Be with me when I wake up. Even with my ear pressed to the floor so hard it hurts, I can't hardly see under Alvy's door. "Mr. Alvy Moore," I say, "you still there?" "Just getting your book, Ella," he calls, voice all old, raspy. "Why can't you open the door no more?" I ask. "Nailed it shut with boards. Ain't no one coming through the door ever again the way I nailed it shut." "But Mr. Alvy Moore, what if there's a fire?" I ask his shuffling slippers through the under-door crack, then sit up to rub my sore ear. "I'll be barbecue. Don't you worry, I'll open the door when the army arrive to sort out these streets." Alvy tries to shove a book down through the crack, but it's too thick and conks against the door. He picks it up, grunts, and then half a paperback tore right down the spine slides under the door. I have to wait for the other half to figure out what book he's lending me. Then the top half with the cover comes sliding under the door. It's got a splash of black and a splash of red on the cover that looks like blood. "Lord of the Flies" in scary black writing. "You read that one, Ella?" Alvy asks. "No," I say, picking up the two halves and putting them back together. "Good. Let me know what you think of it," Alvy says. "Thank you. See you when the army gets here," I say, and head back down the stairs, jumping 2 feet at once, step by step, 22 steps to our landing. Emery's 2 big hand-me-down shorts need holding for every bounce. Dad gave me these old Emery clothes when he bagged up and threw out all my clothes, saying I was too big for them, even though some of them fit me fine. Now I've only got Emery's old clothes. There are only 3 floors in this old building. We've got Alvy Moore above, Nontha Mantu below, and us in the middle. Me, Dad, Emery, and 3 dogs. But we're not supposed to say about the dogs, and Mum when she comes home. Nontha's good. She never complains about the clacking of the dog's toenails on the floor above her head. I open the door and push through the bouncing fur and licking tongues, rubbing each furry head hello and smooching my cheek into 3 big, fluffy, yowling doggo heads. Then I tell Dad what Alvy Moore's gone and done to his door. He laughs and goes back to trying to stick some wires into an old hand crank from what used to be part of an electric bike, but there are so many bits on the kitchen table, I don't think it's ever going to spit out any electricity. "The army? He's waiting for the army? Someone needs to tell the old man an army's marches on its stomach, so Australia's got no army," he says. "Don't we got to go and get him out?" I ask. "What if there's a fire?" I'm not sure nailing the door shut isn't a bad idea. The world's turned upside down, baby Belle. If we want to survive, we got to figure out how we to walk on our heads, I shout, finishing it for him, because he's said it so many times. Dad rubs my hair and still stiff and spiky short from where he cut it with his shaver last week, so I look like a pale version of Emery. "What books did you get?" He picks the 2 pieces out of my hands and turns them over. "Oh," he says, his smile sliding away. "What?" I ask, with him already moving to put the pieces on the top shelf of the bookcase where he thinks I can't reach. "It's not appropriate," he says. "I've read the appropriate ones," I say. "There's nothing in the building left for me to read." "Yeah, but not that. It's too scary for you." "But Dad," I say, "I'm not a baby. If it gets too scary, I'll stop reading." "Sweetie, there's enough society breaking down outside our door without reading about it for fun." "Can I read it then?" Emery calls from his bedroom. Dad rolls his eyes at me and doesn't answer. Sometimes Emery says stuff just to make people argue with him. But not me. He never argues with me, because I'm the little sister and he's the big brother, that he looks out for me no matter what. "Can I?" Emery yells again. Dad puts his finger to his lips, ducks down and hides behind the couch. He's skinny and small, our Dad, so he can fold himself down real good. Marucci, our biggest black dog, follows him, and Wolf tries too, but there's not much room down there. A fluffy, wagging brown tail is sticking out. Dad waves a hand for me to hide, so I duck behind the armchair, and when Bear comes looking at my face, I wrap myself around him to scrunch him in there too. There's a huffling and bare feet slapping on the floor tiles as Emery comes out to see why we're not answering. He comes all the way into the lounge room. "I can see you," he says. Dad leaps out then, yelling, "Dog pile!" He grabs Emery, pulls him onto the couch, Emery wailing and squirming as Dad and me and two big dogs pile on top, giggling and laughing and whining. I bounce off pretty quick because I weigh even less than the dogs. I leap back on top again. Marucci, though, she's trying to save Emery from the pile. She's got his jeans leg and is tugging it out from under the pile. We roll off and Emery slides off the couch and goes skating across the floor with Marucci tugging to him. "Rucci!" Emery yells, too busy holding his jeans up to stop the slide. "She saved you!" I yelled. "Good Rucci!" She stops dragging and dances around like she's the best, and she really is. I wrap my arms around her big neck and bury my face in her fur, and Emery does too. "You're a big goose," Emery says. Then he grabs me and carries me to the couch and drops me down and plonks me down beside him. Dogs scramble up on top of us. Dad plops down beside us. "We're a goosey family," Dad says and laughs. But I don't laugh, because we're not a family without Mum. "We will be when the mother goose gets home," I say. "Mother Goose is something from a kid's book," Emery says. "I mean our Mother Goose, Mum, you goose." I dig my elbows into Emery's side and he squirms and mutters, "Not my Mum," like it's a habit he can't stop. Dad gives him a quick eyebrow tweak to tell him he's annoying. "Why can't she come home now the power's gone out?" "Why can't she come home now the power's gone out?" I ask Dad, because that's her job, to keep the power working. That's why she's away from home. But if there's no power for her to keep going, she can come home. "I'm sure she's on her way, Baby Belle," Dad says, and wraps a skinny arm around me. His arms are skinny, but all muscle, so his hugs are strong. The gates are down across the city. I'm sure there's a way for her to get home now. "But how?" I ask, because the city was divided up into a lot of burbs when the food ran out, and rations had to be delivered into each gate, and the only people allowed to leave were they that worked the day that people were not. Essential personnel. A whole lot of doctors and nurses and policemen and power employees haven't come home to their families for 8 months, and since the power went out 3 weeks ago, there's not even been phone calls. "You know your Mum," Dad says. "She's probably got a solar-powered armoured car smushing down the rubbish in the streets right now." I laugh at the idea, and even Emery laughs, because that's the thing about Mum. She's always designing, dreaming and working. That's how come she got into solar power early when Dad was still learning coal power, and how they met when she took over his job. They tell us the story all the time. I think to warn us to always be looking ahead. Emery thinks the story makes Dad look stupid. But Dad made a nice business from home, fixing old electrical things, and he was around to look after me and Emery when Emery's mum sent him back to the city to live. Dad's better with kids than Mum. She could never slow down enough to just hang out. Every morning I wake up and think today's the day Mum will make it home. But every night when I go out to sleep, the noises down the street of people out of control is louder and louder, and I wonder how Mum is going to get through all that and be with me when I wake up. That's the end of chapter 1, but I might read a bit of chapter 2 as well. Chapter 2, Me, Emery, and 3 big doggos. Screams in the night. Far away and lonely. Angry shouts, slamming doors, breaking glass. A man runs down the street below us, boots thudding on the road, something shining in his hand flashes as he passes up under our only solar streetlight. Me. I freeze to stop from breathing in, because it wouldn't be just a breath. It'd be a sob that sets me crying, and I have to be calm. It's the same every night out there, but this time I've got no Dad or Emery here to look out for me. Marucci beside me growls, puts her paw on the window and stares down, twisting her head, following the man on like she thinks he ain't supposed to be out there after the curfew sirens have sounded. "It's okay, Rucci," I whisper, and bury my hand deep in the warm fur of her neck. "Not allowed to cry," Emery said. "Marucci will be worried." "You have to look out for Marucci," he said, like I'm stupid enough to believe that. "He left Marucci here to guard me, that's for sure." I just nodded, couldn't say a thing, and he slipped out the door, leaving me here alone, except for Rooch. Him going out into the city, just like Dad did 12 days ago, just like Mum did 8 months ago. "He'll come back," I whispered into Marucci's fuzzy triangle ear. "They'll all come back." But it's already gone dark, and that's when Emery said he'd be back. Curfew's not even a thing now, even with the sirens blaring at 7 every night, and me wondering every single time how they still got power. The batteries around the suburbs are broken down. No guards are standing there to stop nighttime looters no more. Dad said they'd run to save their own necks, and we should too soon as Mum gets here. Emery said Mum could take care of herself. She was probably safe somewhere, anywhere. Emery said we didn't need to wait for her. He said he wasn't going to wait for Jackie one day more. I heard them talking at night when they thought I was sleeping. Emery said he had to get to his granddad because his barn knew about grass and the land and stuff, and he needed Emery to help him. Emery said he'd go alone. Dad was angry, but he said he'd have to go get Mum and then we could leave together. Dad said the government was promising us food that they can't get hold of, and the city was just going to break down when it didn't show up. Down the street, where the ethanol bus ground to a stop last year and nobody bothered moving it, someone lights a fire in an old ripped-off car bonnet. It's real dark, except for that one solar light and the sparking fire. People come out of houses up the street, looking this way and that, like they don't trust no one, carrying pots of water to put on the old shopping trolley tipped sideways that we used for a grill in the middle of that car bonnet fire. Adding old bits of furniture they don't want to keep the fire going. They don't bring out what food they got now, though. Nobody trusting nobody no more in case they take it for themselves. Better to eat that can of fish just stood heating in the boiling water than have someone smell it cooking and snatch it away. Used to be me and Emery down there at the fire too, talking to the neighbours, playing ball with our dogs under street lights when we had them. But then the government stopped delivering food parcels so often. No more cans of fish, no more dried up soup bones and vegetables. Dad said we shouldn't let anyone know we got the dogs still, him playing ball with them on the stairs and sneaking them down to pee and poop in the little backyard after checking no one was around to see. So it was me, Dad and Emery and our 3 big doggos in a tiny upstairs flat day after day because Dad didn't want us to go into school, ever since the suburbs were fenced off from each other, after Mum went out to work and couldn't get back in. It's been so long since I've been to school. Lucky for me, I got my reading going good, because with no power and nowhere to play, it's just me carrying books upstairs to old Alvy Moore or downstairs to Nonthamantu to see if they got some books to swap that maybe I can read. Some days I wish I could go to school and see my friends and use the swings, but Dad says I always got to be ready to do as he tells me, because that's the only way he can keep us all safe. Soon as he gets back, I'll do whatever he tells me, I whisper to Marucci, because there's no one but her keeping me safe right now. I kick at the backpack by my feet, waiting for me to haul on. Most of it's taken up by a beautiful tin of Anzac bickies I've been saving, but my boot toe don't hit the tin. I get down on the floor and shove my hand in the backpack, feeling it all around past my 2 changes of clothes and my toothbrush. Only some little cans of sardines. Emery's taken my Anzacs to trade. I don't know what's better to trade than a big tin of bickies. My face gets real hot that he doesn't even think to ask me or tell me what he'd been trading them for. He just going off trading for both of us like he's the adult and I'm a baby. My belly grumbles like it knows already it won't be getting Anzacs ever again. That ugly red fungus killed all the wheat for flour, killed all the oats, killed the sugar cane for sugar and golden syrup, along with all the grass for cows and butter. Killed just about every ingredient that me and Dad used when we made Anzac bickies. I don't think I'll ever see another Anzac bicky in my whole life. I find a tube of toothpaste, open it and smear it on my teeth, suck it off. I get another fingerful from Marucci, who licks it and keeps making licking noises as she tries to deal with the stuff that's not really food. Both of us sitting in the dark, sucking at our teeth, worrying. Marucci's dark eyes flash in the light from the fire down the street as she waves her head around chasing toothpaste on her muzzle. Poor Marucci. She don't understand why we can't feed her more than a can of sardines a day. She don't know why that rush of raw meat stopped coming. After the grass died from that ugly red fungus, we had a lot of starving sheep and cows that needed eating, and it was fine times for Marucci, all right. She got fat, her black fur shiny and glossy like crow feathers, even as the world changed all around us. But now that's gone, and we're all just living on our own fat and whatever else we've saved to get us through. Me, Emery, and 3 big doggos. "We're going to starve if we stay here," Emery said. "If we're going to go, best go now." And he said it like going was something easy, like all we had to do was walk away. And that brings us to the end of chapter 2. We'll leave it there. If you're interested in reading this book, we have a copy in the library, so I recommend that you borrow it. See ya!